Gentlemen, it is my privilege to introduce Shri Rajender Kataria, IAS Additional Chief Secretary, Revenue Department, Government of Karnataka, a distinguished 1996 batch IAS officer of the Karnataka cadre. Shri Kataria brings with him nearly 3 decades of exemplary public service. Over the course of his illustrious career, he has held several key leadership positions, including Managing Director of KSRTC and Principal Secretary to the Agriculture and Sericulture Department, besides serving on Central Deputation. Today, as Additional Chief Secretary of the Revenue Department, he oversees one of the state's most critical departments, dealing with land administration, revenue governance, and matters that directly impact citizens, property owners, and residential communities across Karnataka. His dedication to public service was recognized internationally when he was awarded the Star 2020 certificate by the World Book of Records, London, for his outstanding contribution to the society during the COVID-19 pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in extending a warm welcome to Shri Rajender Kataria. Big round of applause. Unfortunately, he could not be with us in person. Ladies and gentlemen, he'll be joining us online. All eyes on screen. All right, we apologize for the inconvenience caused. Ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to the next speaker before we are able to connect. Are you able to connect? All right.
Delegates, all the dignitaries and all the participants, students and friends. I hope I'm audible to all. I'm really sorry for not being here physically because of my last minute urgency, some commitment which I had not anticipated. I'll just focus on, since we are talking about the land governance, since I handle the subject land. Land is a state subject, as you know. Land and land acquisition, land registration, these all are handled by the state governments. So in Karnataka, I'm there for the last 3 years, and with my experience in the last 3 years and my past experience in various assignments where I have handled land. Land is a very critical, part of our ecosystem. Historically, if you look at the land ownership and the land titling in India, it is not very absolute, very clear. We are basically continuing the survey which was conducted by the Britishers when they were ruling this country. So in the entire country, various parts of the state, having worked in Haryana and now in Karnataka, so with that wide experience, I am sharing that the land survey was conducted by the Britishers at that point of time. The whole aim and object was basically to collect revenue. And the ownership came very, very late. The ownership in Karnataka and many of the states are still a subject which are debated. Now, if I look at Karnataka, how the land from survey to the ownership started. If you remember, during the Second World War, when we had severe food shortage worldwide, so that time the concept came that there is a land which is barren, which is uncultivated. So that land was offered under grow more foods, that people can convert that land into agriculture and then start doing cultivation. And then subsequently, after a few years, then government offered them, if you want to buy the land, pay some money and buy that land. So that was the first of kind ownership. Second was, as you know, that most of these lands in the entire country, actually, the state was the owner. Subsequently, with the state was the owner, this under various reforms, land reforms act, like in Karnataka, but particularly, we had land reforms act in 1961. Then we had various Inam abolition acts. The entire land in Karnataka, various part of Karnataka, there was huge Inam lands given to the Inamdars, the Jamindars, the Jagirdars, who were basically supporting the then government. So these people were given large chunk of land. Some of the Inamdars had almost like some 30-40 villages, maybe more. Some of them, in fact, had entire district as their ownership. So when the land reforms came, so that time the ownership was, given to farmers, basically the land to tiller. Basically people who were tilling the land, who were cultivating the lands were given ownership. in Karnataka, the documentation of land records, somewhere in 2099, when I joined service in 96, 97, that time this Karnataka state was the first state where the records, ownership records were getting computerized. So in 2002, in Karnataka, the what we call is RTC. RTC is basically R stands for record of rights, T is basically tenancy, and C talks about crops. So there is a table where the various elements are in the name of the village, the location of land, survey number, his number, type of land, owner, the physical to digital, electronic. From that time onward, which I am noticing in the last 3 years, the land ownership has become very critical because, especially like in city like Bangalore and around, the land is very, very limited. And of late, people are very, they have started creating fake records. So in the last 3 years, we have referred almost a few dozen cases. When we doubted that there are documents being fabricated, people have inserted in the file. And when we started sending these documents to the forensic, then we realized that many of the fake documents are there. So and then the records are also getting very old. Some records are more than 100 years. So 2.5 years back, I'll just highlight 2-3 main initiatives the state of Karnataka has taken to protect the old records and to sanitize the ownership records. So in Karnataka, we took one stand that there are almost close to more than 130 crore pages records are lying in roughly 240 taluks in 31 districts. So we took a stand from decision that let us go for digitizing these documents. So as of now, close to 81 crore pages we have digitized. 131 taluk offices, Tehsil completely we have digitized, and now we are also digitizing the assistant commissioner office and deputy commissioner office. So once this digital process is complete, the ownership records cannot be altered about the land is concerned. So that is one part. Second part is, in southern part, we have in a particular piece of land, you will find kharab lands. Kharab are A and B type of kharab land where the government has the ownership or private people have the ownership within the part of a private land. So that also, and then there are government lands. So there are cases where the government land is sold to private people by fabricating the documents. So from the government side, we started a concept 2 years back, a land beat. So we developed an app. It's called Land Beat app. During the British time, so these Britishers used to visit the important installation on a regular basis. Police also do now post independence in the police beat. On a similar line to protect the public land, government lands. So we came out with this Land Beat app. Almost 14,37,000 government lands are there in the state, which are owned by my department, by Land Revenue Department, and most of these lands are either the raw big piece of land or the public lands, which are used as roads, or drainage, channel, and parks, and for the grazing in the villages, grazing yards area, or the burial grounds. All these lands, to protect them from encroachment, and also to protect them from any kind of manipulation, mischievous activities being carried out by people. So we started mapping this area. So all the lands, 14 lakh and odd lands, we have physically, we have our people have gone because it's a geofence. So we have done the survey, and that entire land has been mapped. And in our Bhumi software, Bhumi is our land record software in the state, and Bhumi was the first of its kind in the country in 2002 when we came out with the Bhumi. That was the first in the country, and that entire country has adopted Karnataka model now. Now the records have been digitized. All the land owned by the government, most of it have been flagged in the system, so the mutation will not happen. Transaction, sale or other activities will not happen now. My sub-registrar will, because the system will not allow to fetch. Now, the important thing since we are talking about the ownership, apartment ownership, but since I handle only land, so I'll focus on the land. So the land transaction, now if you have to go to Bhumi, or suppose if you go to sub-registrar office. So the sub-registrar office will not rely purely on what document you are presenting. Now we have linkages with three main databases. We have Bhumi, which handles the agriculture land. We have EKhata, which handles the urban properties. And then we have eSwatu, which is basically panchayat, rural property database. When you go for registration, so my system will actually fetch data from these three databases. It will not rely upon your information, what you supply. It will cross-verify digitally to avoid any implication or manipulation. On top of it, in Karnataka, we have close to 2 crore land parcels owned by almost 3.89 crores people. So 3.89 crore people are holding ownership of around 2 crore land parcels. So to avoid any kind of duplication, we started 2 years back Aadhaar seeding of these land parcels with the owner. And I'm happy to say that almost 89% of the land parcels have been now seeded with Aadhaar. So that if any transaction has to happen, it will through Aadhaar authentication. So that has actually reduced the impersonation or any kind of manipulation. So that is one thing which the state of Karnataka has done in the last 2 years. So that has sanitized the ownership record. One issue which I like to highlight that when we grant any land, I mean, if you want to buy a land, there are few restrictions in the land transaction. Like if there is a land granted to any SC/ST, so there's an act in Karnataka. It's called Karnataka SC/ST prohibition of certain types of lands. We generally call PTCL Act. All the lands which are granted to SC/ST, agriculture land, cannot be transacted, sold to any person without the specific permission of the government. So in each case, it requires a government permission. So in my office, we give permission on case-to-case basis, because the idea was when the lands were granted to the SC/ST, that the family is a source of income and survival for the family. So the source should not disappear. It should not go. People should not forcibly or otherwise take away this property. So we have some system that if you are disposing this piece of land, then buy some other piece of land, so that your dependence on agricultural activity continues with another piece of land, and then you are carrying out certain economic activity, and you are able to feed your family and maintain your whatever standard you are maintaining in the habitation. So that is one part. Secondly, if any land is granted to any person in state of Karnataka, so there is some restriction for number of years. Certain lands are for 15 years and certain land parcels are for 25 years. So within this period, there is completely no possibility of alienating that land to any person by any means. As I was saying, PTCL is a complete ban. You need a permission. In the second category, there is a complete restriction during this specific period. Again, I mean, only government can relax those conditions, but generally we don't relax these conditions, because we don't find, because when we grant land, it's granted for a specific purpose. So that is the second part of it. Third thing about sub-registration office, just let me just tell you, we have basically sanitized our operations. Generally in India, people talk about high level of corruption in the sub-registrar office or in the Tahsil office and all that. So to remove that kind of image and to bring transparency, to basically make system better, we have now last 6-8 months we have tried hard, and now the land registration, whether it's registration of apartment or land or any other property, so you can apply online. The SRO will examine your paper online. If the papers are found to be okay and your fees calculation is done as per the statute, then he will say yes. He will indicate he or she will indicate the amount to be paid as stamp duty and the registration. You pay the money and take a date. On that scheduled date, you can go and you can register. In Bangalore, you can register anywhere, irrespective of your area, irrespective of your place of residence. So there are a number of SROs in the city of Bangalore. There are almost more than 240 SROs office in the state of Karnataka. So you can register anywhere within the district. Now we are trying and expanding it anywhere in the district. So I mean anywhere in the state. So that pilot is going on. One more thing which we have done is by rotation, one office in Bangalore, we are trying to work on a holiday so that people who work and who are not otherwise available, they would prefer to be on available on a weekend, on a holiday. So we are also doing it by rotation. Every week, one office in the city is opened on a holiday so that people can actually register their property. So that is a good governance measure from the state of Karnataka. You want EC, you want land records, they are available across the counter. You can nowadays, you can apply online, you don't have to visit any government office and you can fetch this information. And we are trying from our side to make system as transparent as possible. There are, for your kind information, just to share, I mean, the department, the maximum cases, if you, most of you are from the legal background, or people who are organizing this event, and I am sure people in general would like to know. Just give a small figure. In 2023 and 24, 25, 3 years, I collected some figure as to how many writ petitions are filed against this by the people. Generally, writ petitions are filed against the state, against people like us. Out of that, 40% of the writ petitions were against my department. They were land-related issues. So the dispute is very high. Second, I recently been to 2-3 districts, and I had happened to interact with the my friends in the judiciary and also people into the profession. There's a high number of cases. More than 60% of the litigation in the civil courts are pertaining to land. So that starts with the ownership of the land, with the location of the land. Now coming to the location of the land, we have in the last 2 years, we have something called all the survey lands. We are doing now geofencing of land. So we are surveying the entire state using drone-based technology. So there's an aerial survey, and then we are using high-tech rovers. Rovers is basically an instrument of measurement of land, and these rovers are connected with the satellite. So now in the Karnataka, we are the leader in the country now. Karnataka, we have started using rovers, and the rover is helping us in connecting and giving the right accurate information about the property. In the urban areas for measuring the properties, Bangalore doing something called UPOR, Urban Property Registration, which is now we are merging with EKhata, so that your property location, type of property, there's a photo, 2D and 3D photos are captured, and you can re-verify before you buy or before when you do any kind of transaction. So that is one thing. And for each property, we are giving something called ULPIN, ULPIN, unique parcel land identification number. So for each land parcel, we are also giving a unique number, which is basically automatic number which has some calculation. So you can, with that number, you can actually find out the location of the building on the globe. So that exercise we have started. And lastly, as best international practice, there's something called land stacking. So that concept, that how this apartment has born, from where it has come, or how this land parcel is from where it has come. As I was mentioning, the original survey was done by the Britishers in pre-independence. It was done 1815 odd. So on that survey map, the accuracy we have measured, on the survey map, we are putting different layers, so that you can, tomorrow if there is any dispute, especially like in the periphery of Bangalore, a lot of agriculture land has been converted into non-agriculture, and it has been converted into layouts, or apartments have come in, and you will find thousands of such cases are before the court where the land is under dispute about the titling of the land or the location of the land. So now with the land stacking model, which we have just started, it will take some time to become a reality. But we have started that, where the base survey map, on that survey map, we are putting the layout plan. On that layout plan, we are putting your plot. On the plot, we are putting your apartment. On the apartment, we are putting your all kind of utility connection, so that when you click on, it will happen soon, when you click on the apartment location or the apartment or the area, you will get to know what the total land is, from where the land has originated, which survey number this land belonged to, who are the original owner, and how the ownership has changed over the years. Number one. Number two, how the layouts have been, permission was taken, how the plan sanction was given, how individual ownership was transferred, and then how utilities are connected to those individual properties. So this exercise is going on. I think this would help any person very soon in future to basically verify about the genuineness, legality of the property. So that will help everybody. That is from the revenue department side, government of Karnataka side, way forward. And the last final word, we are also coming out with something called ULMS, Urban Land Management System, where all the, as I was saying, land stacking. So it's a model of land stacking. So in the blockchain model, all the databases will be connected, so that any citizen can fetch information about any property before one buys or one transacts. I think from my side, I want a few ideas of the state, what state has been doing. I've shared. If anybody has any question, may ask any question, or else I'm done from my side. Thank you. And I especially thank all the participants and the organizer for organizing such a workshop. The awareness programs are really essential. As I was mentioning, the highest number of litigation in the state and maybe in the country are pertaining to land, and sometime or most of the time it is because of the disputes arising about the location, ownership, and of late, especially in case of I think I missed one subject about RERA. In case of, like, there are a lot of RERA cases. I also handle RERA recoveries basically. Investor, they invest money in an apartment, and then the money is diverted elsewhere. So that thing is also going to be part of our ULMS model in future, when a person, a probable buyer, will get to know what kind of layout plan has been sanctioned, how many plots or how many apartments have been permitted by the planning authorities, what is the height, what is the width, what is the setback, so that you know that all the parameters, all the norms of the government are followed while executing the project. And then there's a timeline for completion, because each builder, developer would have given some timeline to the RERA authorities before taking permission, so that you can also follow that what is the timeline for a developer or a builder to complete that process. Once the process is done, then if you know that there is a delay, so at the right time you can knock the door of the either RERA or the builder, so that you know that your money is not diverted elsewhere, and then the builder is not taking away your money and running away from the ground or diverting the money elsewhere. We do recovery of such cases, so those cases are also be part of it. So this ULMS platform which we are coming out with will also take care of the RERA. We are having a linkage with the RERA, so another maybe 2 or 3 months time, this will be rolled out in the state of Karnataka, and we will be the first in the country to come out with such a model. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, Shri Rajender Kumar Kataria. Can I hear a big round of applause? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen,